Well, good afternoon, everybody. Such a pleasure to be here. Philippe, welcome to the Shop Talk Lux stage. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Philippe, you are the CEO of Kerzner International. I'm sure everybody in the audience will know about your business, but I always think it's interesting to hear about a business in the CEO's own words. So could you start by giving us a little bit of an overview of Kerzner International?
Yeah, thank you very much. Kerzner International is an independent luxury operator, which we have a global presence. We're operating 20 resorts around the globe. And I'm in charge of 17,000 colleagues that delivering every day amazing experiences and everlasting memories. We have 4 brands within our portfolio that I'm sure you are familiar with. One is Atlantis Dubai, Atlantis the Royal, but we have as well Atlantis in China, and we have 2 new Atlantis that we just have recently announced. We will be doing an Atlantis the Royal in Maldives and as well an Atlantis in Jeddah. We have another brand, one and only, targeting the ultra-luxury high-end consumer. We have 14 resorts around the globe, and this is a very bespoke brand, very high-end, and we have as well a real estate component called Private Homes, part of one and only. And then the 2 brands that potentially this audience is less familiar with is Sairo. Sairo is a revolutionary brand that we just have launched 2 years ago, and the flagship is in Dubai. We have another hotel in Montenegro. And it's a brand which is scientifically based and really optimize your fitness routine. It's the home for any business travelers that wherever they go and travel around the world, they find a home, and Sairo is the home for them. And the last brand is Rare Find. Rare Find is experience-driven brand, and the first flagship as well is in Dubai, but this is a brand that's expanding extremely rapidly. And the first one is Bab el Sham. It's a desert resort 1 hour outside of Dubai.
And I've had the pleasure of going there, and it's absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much for that overview of the business. I think your position and your portfolio of brands gives you this unique vantage point on the evolution of the luxury consumer, the luxury customer. And so I'd love to know from your perspective how you see that evolution of the luxury consumer playing out and how that impacts the way that you run the different brands within your portfolio.
So, very interesting. First of all, what's very, very important to us is that retail at Kerzner International is not an afterthought. It's something that we're designing far ahead in advance. And despite some shopping mall and some other area that they're talking about square meters and about footfall, we're talking about something which is really important for us is return on emotion. And what is the level of emotion that those shops, those retail will be giving in the journey of the consumer. And our guests in the hotel, and probably this is something very, very special that hospitality own, is that the average length of stay in our hotel is more than 4 nights. The average length of time in a retail or in a shop in any places, if you have 1 hour, you're very lucky. So we have the chance to be able to understand guest behavior, what they do, what they have for breakfast, if they really have habits for breakfast, at what time they like to shop, what they're wearing at night, what they're wearing when they just go play tennis. So you'll have some insight which is absolutely unparalleled. And this is, I believe, is the beauty about living into a hospitality space, is that we have the time to really being together with the guests, understand the needs, adjusting what they want. And the world of retail is very, very interesting into the world of hospitality because any brands that associating themselves with a resort that the guests like, you have an emotional connections which becoming extremely, extremely powerful.
It's an interesting point about the integration of retail and hospitality, because one of the things that we often talk about is this shift amongst ultra high net worth individuals away from a shift from spending money on luxury goods to spending on luxury experiences. But there's a sense in which actually, from what you're talking about, these 2 things are actually integrated. It's not a direct separation.
Definitely, and it's depending brand per brand. One and Only has been creating with a fashion lens from day one. So when the brand One and Only was creating in 2002, some of you might remember, we have done this very unique campaign with Christy Turlington, which was triple size, A4, black and white pictures that has been a revolution because none of the hospitality company back in the day were treating the world of hospitality towards a fashion lens. So that has given to one and only a competitive edge to really attract the high-end consumer. And what was a learning, and when we design a resort, is first of all, what is the customer journey? We don't want to break the customer journey. And any brand that we have to associate it with has to blend within the power of the brand one and only. It's extremely important, and time to time, brands are willing to go into competitions with the hospitality brands. But they need to integrating themselves into the customer journey because at the end of the day, it is the brand one and only that own the customer journey, own the entire experiences, and own the relationship with the guest after he will be leaving the resort. Towards, again, which is always very, very important, and emotional factors. Now, for the one that had the chance to see Atlantis the Royal in Dubai, whereby we have done the retail as the core element, Atlantis the Royal, this hotel, 760 key, 230 residents. We have done the grand opening with Beyoncé that has generating 35 billion worth of impressions. So this has been really the talk of the entire world to come to that place. And the retail component is absolutely critical and very, very important. So we have a shop with Louis Vuitton. And what we found out about this creating those experiences and this long-term approach is the guest might go to the Dubai Mall or might go to the shopping into the traditional area. But to deliver the gift to the person that they want to give the gift, they want an experiences which is really bespoke. They want a driveway which is impressive. They want to go to the lobby with all the glamorous approach of the lobby. They want the services. They want the glass of champagne. They want the dinner at Carbon right after. So it's a 360 experiences which the world of hospitality can offer because we own that. We know how to look after the guest for the time he wakes up to the time that he's going to bed. So this is our core offering, and I think it's making us very, very special. Now, Cyro, the new brand, whereby we're learning a lot about this new lifestyle, science-based fitness lab, we believe that the lifestyle can really help us to shift the traditional approach that you go into the hotel. And then we've seen a lot of appetite from brand to do a collab at early stage with Cyro, because this is really becoming a community-driven ecosystem, which is embracing the 5 pillars of biohacking, but then you're talking suddenly much more than only the sleep. Because most of the hospitality brand, they're focusing at core at sleep. That's why we're selling when we work in the hospitality. Yeah. Some of them are doing food and beverage a bit better than the others, but it's more or less the 2 pillars that you're looking at. Suddenly, Cyro expand the reach, and then we're talking about longevity through the recovery lab, so sports massage and everything to help you out. We're talking about nobody is looking after mindfulness, so not only yoga, but stress management, and all of those ecosystems that you can creating to help you out when you're facing a stress time when you're traveling. And then fitness, but fitness in a different fashion. Fitness that is becoming a social hub that you can connect. And it's interesting to note that in Cyro, the first one that we have, first we have 40% of female consumer that comes. And when we interview them, why are you coming to this resort? Of course, the concept, the community and everything. But we have fitness classes. And this is when they do back home, this is what they enjoy, this is what they like. So it's very rare to have a hotel globally that's offering fitness classes that you flexible in time, that you can book to the comfort of your app, and that you can go at any standpoint of time. So I believe this is a unique approach that we are offering. So we're expanding our knowledge from only those 2 pillars to something totally different. And retail has a place to play there as well.
And as some of the people in the room will know, in the recent State of Fashion report that we produced in partnership with McKinsey, we wrote a lot about the opportunity around well-being. And it's interesting, though, because there's a lifestyle aspect to it and there's a science aspect to it. And with Cyro, would you say you sit somewhere on that continuum? There's an element of science to it and an element of lifestyle?
So there's so much things happening about the wellness space, and potentially nobody knows exactly where it's going to go. but it's there. And it's there in a level that nobody is really prepared for. There is clear the fact that now people are potentially less interested into luxury wearable, and they want to more a luxury which is based on fact and an emotional return. And the longevity can definitely offer that, because the objective of everyone is not only to live longer, but to live longer in a better shape. So this is what Cyro is helping any individuals to reset and to finding a place that can help you out, to have some learning to expand your lifespan. And this is something that everybody is expecting. Nobody go and talk to you, Nick, and saying, I just want to live less time, and I want to be fatter, and I want to do this. It's really important that this is now a new ecosystem. So Cyro is at the entry-level starting point, because you know that into that space, you can go up to the upper ultra-luxury place where you have those 1 week into those medical, fully ecosystem. But this is really not to everyone. Yeah. First, you need to allocate it a full week for that. It's very difficult to go to more than one person because it's becoming extremely personal. So we believe this is the extreme. Cyro sits in the middle and will continue to evolve because the science is going on a rocket level. But I would like to say as well that in One and Only, we have 2 partnerships which have given extraordinary returns in terms of the interaction with our audience, high-end clients, extremely sophisticated, is Clinique La Prairie and Chenot. So those are ecosystems within the One and Only offering that offering a longevity support. And this is now, again, the base, because our audience, the high-end net worth, they're already having those services back home. So when they're traveling, they want to make sure at least they get the same services that they have back home. But they're expecting from our brand, like One and Only, to have a kind of a stage ahead.
So you mentioned One and Only, and I'm fascinated by One and Only. And you have recently opened your first One and Only in the US, Moonlight Basin in Montana. And as part of that, I heard you say publicly that there would only ever be 35, a maximum of 35 One and Only properties. So unusual to hear a CEO talk about there will only be so many of these things. And so I'm really interested to hear from you, why only 35?
So this is our luxury to be an independent company, and an independent company which is supporting by leaders that really understand what ultra-luxury means. Ultra-luxury, it's about control. You cannot pretend to deliver ultra-luxury experiences and having 100 hotels. It just doesn't work. So the approach there was to say One and Only, the name itself, One and Only, needs to stand extremely strong to the words that it carries. And we believe that 35 is the right number to creating a collection of resorts around the globe that our guest wants to go. But operationally, we are in control. And the principle was to say that the president of the brand needs every year to be able to go to touch and feel the resort and to have an interaction with the ownership. Because this is the secret, you know, how much you need to invest, how much you need to constantly make CapEx evolving, changing the retail, changing a restaurant, shifting a chef. And the ecosystem that we're dealing with, which is extremely seasonal as well, require a lot of attention. And the touching point is the president of the brand that needs to have the capacity to touch every year each of the resorts, talk to the colleagues, talk to the ownership, and assess the quality of the asset.
I think that is such an interesting point about physically being able to go to every single one of those resorts in a year is such an interesting thing in the context of luxury retail. So thank you for sharing that. I'm guessing that for One and Only, and indeed for all of the hotels in your portfolio, personalization and customization are kind of key drivers. There is an increasing within the world of luxury drive towards personalized, customized, you would use the word bespoke experiences. How's that impacting on what you do?
It's impacting a lot the relationship with our colleagues and the training that is required for our colleagues to being able to adjust to customers that have more and more expectation when it comes to personalization. I think this is probably in the hospitality space what will be the next future 10 years. It will be a totally game-changing about what we're doing today. And everything will start with how do we train and look our colleagues to be able to adapt and to adjust to the mood and to the way the guest wants to behave during the day. So we have established some employee philosophy amongst our organization. And One and Only is one of the first brands that have developed an unscripted employee philosophy called We Create Joy, and is to align the entire ecosystem on a hotel to be able to adapt to the mood and to the pace of the customer, and having all the back office having the same approach, that the only intent is to create joy for the guest. Because the vision and the mission is to creating amazing experiences, everlasting memories. So you'll need to be not intrusive, keeping the privacy, which is a non-negotiable red line, but always ready to do what is the most important to creating those everlasting memories, is to be able to unlock situations to making them exceptional, that you will carry this memory long time after you have left the resort. So that's the beauty about that, and that will only come and will always be delivered by human. This is what the hospitality is so unique. It will be enhanced by the technology, for sure, that will give providing a lot of tools to help us out, but ultimately, the human will make all the time the difference.
Absolutely fascinating. It's more of a framework than it is a very tight system, right? So interesting. We're running out of time. I could talk to you for hours about this. It's so fascinating. But I just wanted to ask you one final question, which is, what do you think is the most important lesson that luxury retailers can learn from the remarkable success that you've had at Kerzner International?
Very interesting. I think it's the collaboration that needs to come more early into the setup of the resort. So the way that we do, whenever we have an opportunity, so we have currently 20 resorts and we have 19 on the pipeline. Retailer needs to come at the time we are designing the master plan. They need to be part of the customer journey from day one. And retailers have a huge difficulty to project themselves in such a kind of a long term. But if they want to be into the emotional space, they need to believe a brand, and they need to be there from day one. Most of the mistake that we do is that when we are on resort, we design retail like it could be in a shopping mall. While you can do a totally different experiences, you can be immersive, you can be by the beach, you can be into the most spectacular location within the resort, because your footfall is there anyway. So it's just about the customer journey. So the future will be about involving them from day one and being able to be part of the entire script of the customer journey and not an afterthought. And then what is very, very important is that the retailer understand the seasonality of the customer. Any of location that we're going, we specialize into ultra-luxury destination. Most of them are into resort destination. The type of the customer that you attract during Christmas is not the same, the one that you have during the summer. So you need to have a huge agility in terms of the type of the product that you offer, and because you don't attract the same audience. And sometimes retailer, because of the way that they do business, stock, logistic, collection, they are too strict, and then they're missing the opportunity to talk to the audience that's traveling to the resort at that time. But again, it's a different ecosystem that you do have into a mall or any kind of a place. So it's important that the relationship is tidying up at the early stage, that there is a really, really kind of unique collaboration. And the last thing, the retailer needs to understand that because the length of stay is long in our resort, that even if they're not buying, but if they're only touching any of the items, they will be remember the brand for many, many years to come. So it's about creating bespoke collections that fitting the destination and really have a storytelling.
It strikes me that what you're really looking for is partnership here, that the integration between the retail and the luxury experience is absolutely critical.
Absolutely.
Philippe, thank you so much. We've run out of time, but it's been fascinating to talk to you and so many lessons to learn. So really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.